New details right now about the terror those three young women in Ohio endured. As you know, they're free now, and it's their alleged tormentor who is now imprisoned. ABC anchor David Muir is in Cleveland with the latest. Good morning, David.
Robin, good morning on a very wet and dreary morning here in Cleveland as Ariel Castro sits right here in this county jail behind me. The prosecutor in this case indicating he is not taking the death penalty off the table. This as we learn more about the homecomings. Gina DeJesus telling her parents she did not want to sleep upstairs in a room like she'd been forced to for nearly a decade. The family all sleeping in the living room in inflatable mattresses to grant her wish. Overnight, hundreds of Cleveland residents took to the streets, celebrating the return of three of their own, while Ariel Castro, the man accused of unspeakable evil, is now the one in captivity. Castro moved to a new cell in the county jail after being charged with the horrors inside that home. As we learn more about what it was like to come home, Gina DeJesus, in the moment inside that van, overcome with emotion after seeing that crowd, and it was her mother who gently nudged her in the van to give a thumbs up. She got out. And she did that. A mother picking up where she left off. Because she's still that 14-year-old girl.
In my eyes, in my heart, she is.
So much lost time.
Yes. But it's awesome, though. No matter how hard it is for me, but it's awesome.
You got her back.
Yes, that's the most important thing right now.
And Gina's mother, Nancy Ruiz, revealing something else. She has known Ariel Castro for years. They grew up in the same community. And during that near decade without her daughter, when she would run into him, he would ask the mother how she was holding up without her daughter. You would see him and he would say, "How are you doing?"
Yes.
Like nothing was wrong.
Yes.
That's chilling.
It is. You know how many times I went through that street? I passed by that street. I have a sister who's 2.5 blocks away from there.
ABC News has learned that inside that house on Seymour Avenue, the young women were locked up and chained in the basement early on in their captivity and were moved upstairs in later years. Gina and Michelle Knight often in one bedroom, Amanda Berry and her daughter in another. Castro would bring home food and the young women would cook it. Sometimes he would bring McDonald's. And Amanda Berry's little girl, who was carried into her new home this week, she was the only one Ariel Castro would take out in public. And we're now hearing from a longtime friend of Castro's who said he met the little girl just last week.
He introduced her to me as his granddaughter.
As Castro sat in court, his head buried, a community wondering what now plays in the mind of a man accused of so much evil. And we are also learning this morning, WEWS, the ABC station here in Cleveland, reporting on a note found in the home. Ariel Castro had written this note within the last couple of years, expressing remorse and saying that he's a sex addict, likely offering little consolation to the families of these victims who are now home, and little consolation to the prosecutor who plans to go after him with the full extent of the law, Robin.
That's so true. All right, David, thank you very much. And he'll have much more with Elizabeth Vargas on 2020 tonight. But now let's bring in our legal analyst, Dan Abrams. And Dan, you heard David talking about that bizarre note. Yeah. What kind of factor will that be in the case?
In an ordinary case, it might become very important. It seems almost like an admission, something of a confession. In the context of this case, it's minor compared to everything else we know in the context of this case. Remember, he's only charged with a handful of counts right now. He's going to end up being charged with hundreds of counts. Every single illegal action he took, every assault, every sexual assault, etc., is going to be charged in connection with this case. You're going to be talking about hundreds of charges.
And because of the alleged miscarriages that he caused, the prosecutor is saying they may seek the death penalty. Is this a death penalty case?
I would absolutely expect the death penalty to be sought in this case. In Ohio, the law is very clear on aggravated murder. If you premeditate and then commit the termination of someone else's pregnancy unlawfully, you are subject to aggravated murder. Aggravated murder is a death penalty eligible crime, And honestly, I can't think of a case that is more appropriate for the death penalty than this one.
I know quite a few people agree with you on that. He's said to be cooperating with police right now, and how does that factor in? And also, when you think when David was talking to Gina's mother, and she said that he would say, "Hey, how is she doing?" I mean, it seems like just such evil.
It is, and I don't know that his cooperation is going to sort of help him in the legal sense. I think his only hope at this point is to somehow cut a deal for life in prison without parole. I don't know that he's going to be able to do that in the context of this case.
So much more ahead. All right, Dan. Thanks very much.